the Badger gonna give you a show now. Right?
Very good. We haven't. Alrighty, so we're at a sand and gravel pit. We're gonna make this kind of quick. They replaced this huge boiler a couple weeks ago, and now I got to come cut it up and get it out of here. It's got thin sheets of aluminum on the outside, and then real thick insulation, and then down to the steel. So hopefully we'll be able to get the insulation off relatively easy and torch that. I don't know if there's a heat exchanger in it or not, but if there's some copper involved, that would be pretty cool. When they pulled it off with the crane, they said it weighed around 18,000 pounds, so that's even better. Alrighty, so there it is without the aluminum on it, except for that one piece up there. There's a steel fitting that's messing it up. But we'll pull this plastic off and then cut these green bands, and hopefully it'll come out in relatively big pieces, and then they got a dumpster on site to put it in. Alright, now we got the insulation off to a certain point, cut an access hole in it, so now we can just run a straight line across the top the whole way, because this yard has to be less than 10 square feet to be considered number one. So those are 5 by 5. So we'll just run a straight line. I use these green things. I cut them all relatively the same length to give me a, you know, pretty good idea. Probably could have used spray paint or something, but I cut this hole that way. Once I cut the top, I can come in here, sit on this old boy, and just torch along here and don't have to worry about it falling on me or anything like that. But this is pretty cavernous in here. I did cut a little access hole in this to see if it was a heat exchanger or anything, but it's just dark. Nothing. I guess that's where all the, you know, the fire went through to heat the water, etc. I'm no expert. I just play one on YouTube. But yeah, we'll continue to cut and see how it goes. And we'll have, once I cut this side, I have the guy roll the thing over with the machine to get the rest of it. And that's that. Nice big window in this now. Got one little short piece left, and then I don't know if I'll try and go on top and drop the pieces, or have him roll, or cut the other side out and then have him roll it. I don't know, I have to look at it and see, but either way, this these two pipes are going to have to go first out of it. This one is relatively thick, almost probably close to 1/2 inch, and these walls are just like 1/4. It's going pretty good. Well, just like most of my videos, I don't give you the middle ground. You get it before and after. Most of the time you don't get it during, but that's it. That's all of it. I made a mistake earlier for anyone that caught it. I said the scrapyard wants no more than 10 square feet, and I said 5 by 5, and I meant 5 by 2. So that first side, I cut all 5 by 5 and had to cut them in half again. But that's to get #1 price, the best money you can for steel, pretty much. This heavy pipe that was on the inside of it, and then this is the bottom tray. I just split that in half, and then I'll get a machine in here, remove all this, and then just cut these in 5-foot sections, because on each side of this is right at 2. But we'll see what we can get out of it. Ought to be a pretty good load, or loads, obviously. See what we get. Alrighty, we'll start off first by my nice new sides on the dump trailer. Nice white oak boards, fancy. And we got the first load of plate going on. It's probably, I don't know, the crane operator said the whole thing weighed around 18,000 pounds, but that has went through 2 or 3 people, so it may have been exaggerated some. So I used that and roughly guessed 1/3 using that lull or telehandler, whatever. A big argument in the comments. That's for you guys to handle, not me. But roughly gauged 1/3 of the load, 1/3 of the total, whatever I'm trying to mumble out of my mouth. So hopefully we have about 6,000 pounds here. We'll see, but really nothing, same old stuff as yesterday, as the last clip, I should say. Last clip for you, yesterday for me. Alrighty, so we got this pile of #1 steel here that, well, it's #2 right now, but torch it into #1 size. But I did a job when scrap was down real low, and I just left it here to wait for it to come back up. It's come back up, but I'm gonna go to the yard that's only a couple miles from me and turn it in. They're paying $12.50 per 100, whereas the other yard that's about 35 miles away, they're paying like 15, but they moved their yard locations and they got permit issues and they're not open yet and blah blah blah. So figured I'd get this mess cleaned up while I'm doing nothing else and put a little money in my pocket. Alrighty, so this material is pretty thick compared to I'll probably put this in with that big boiler video, but compared to that, this stuff's pretty thick. This is probably, I don't know, I guess maybe they call it 3/8. I'm no expert, but it's pretty heavy and it adds up quick, and there's a lot of it. Already got that much cut and loaded. There's a handful of pieces in here that were already less than 5, but there should be at least, I don't know, 6,000 pounds in this pile, so works out pretty good. All right, so here's the load. It doesn't look like much because I'm above it, but this is all the angle iron and the small little like 6-inch I-beams, stuff like that. Probably ought to be, I don't know, at least 3,500 pounds in there. I got these I-beams left and this real heavy, they call it a grizzly bar. Came from another concrete or sand and gravel plant that upgraded their equipment, so I go in and get all the old stuff. But anyway, Sugar Puss is here, but it's broke down, so I'm having to cut this stuff small enough to lift it. So the trailer's awkwardly full to be able to load these heavy things. So we're gonna run this. It's only a couple miles away and come on back. It is extra froggy out here this morning. Can't even see the other side of the bridge. I wasn't too far off my guess there. 3,620 pounds, $12.50 per 100, total of $453. They call it 5-foot plate and structural. They just informed me that they have a new category that is 3x18, 3 foot long, 18 wide. So pays more, obviously. So since we're torching, we might as well cut these I-beams and this grizzly bar into that. It'll be smaller, so it won't be as heavy to lift, and it'll be a little more money. A little more better, as your boy Badger would say. Alrighty, boys and girls. We got it all torched up and loaded up. It feels like it was 10,000 pounds, of course, because you load it by hand, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that there's no less than 5,000 pounds on here. We got both sets of grizzly bars, which were roughly, I think 6 by 12, I want to say, and then the I-beams underneath. So that'll be pretty good. What do you think of that thumbnail, maybe? Well, I learned a valuable lesson there. Before I say what I'm going to say, I will say that I couldn't have loaded the pieces any bigger than what I had cut them. The first load, 5-foot plate and structural. That means no bigger than 5 foot long and 2 foot wide, or however you want to cut it. $12.50 per 100, got $4.53 for 3,600 pounds roughly. The new 3-foot plate and structural, which is 3 foot by 18 inches, pays $12.75 per 100, which is 25 cents more per 100 than the 5-foot. There is no financial gains at all by cutting it smaller. None. And truthfully, probably lost money doing that by using the torch and all that stuff, cutting it smaller. But I couldn't have lifted it 5 by 2. So that was a learning lesson. I should have asked first to see what the price difference was, but there it is. I was way off on the weight on this one is 4,020 pounds. But either way, we almost grossed $1,000 today, and minus, I don't know, let's say 100 for the truck fuel and the torch, you know, oxyacetylene, etc., etc. We're not going to micromanage and go into the cost of the truck and the brakes and the insurance and all that, because then you won't want to do it anymore. But either way, there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.